Uhuru. Welcome to Stand for Reparations, Not Gentrification. Uhuru, Kara.
Uhuru, Jesse.
Uhuru, glad to see you on here tonight.
Yes, thank you for everybody coming in today.
Uhuru, yes. We want to welcome everybody who's tuning in. We have a very exciting event planned tonight. We want to start off by letting people know that Uhuru means freedom in Swahili. And my name is Jesse Neville. I'm a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee and the chair of our mass organization, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, working under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party to organize in the white community for reparations to African people. And this event tonight is part of wrapping up over the next week or so, week and a half, the 2025 Days of Reparations to African People campaign, the annual reparations campaign that the Solidarity Movement is called on by the party to carry out every year to win the highest stand of reparations to African people from those of us in the white community. So tonight, we're going to be talking about this more later on, but we are in the midst of raising our collective pledge of material solidarity to the programs of African self-determination of Black Star Industries. The goal for this campaign is to raise $30,000. And when you combine all of the donations and pledges that have come in so far, there is about 7,500 left to raise. So we want to make a big dent in that number tonight. If we can even surpass it, let's do it. At minimum, our goal is to raise at least $1,000 towards that goal from all of our comrades and supporters who are on this event tonight. So we're going to be going more into that later, but we want to let you know that you can start donating right now at any amount by going to uhurusolidarity.org/pay-reparations.
Uhuru. Thanks so much, Jesse. Yes. Um, first of all, my name's Kara Locke. I am a proud USM member, and I'm also a coordinator of the Reparations Legacy Project, which we're going to talk a lot more about tonight. And so we thank you all for taking your time today just to attend this webinar. You are standing in support of reparations, not gentrification. And, as we see all over the country and right here in St. Louis, gentrification is plaguing the Black community of every city. So we say that this is a part of the colonial mode of production meant to keep African people oppressed, divided, and impoverished. And that is why we are here. We're fighting for reparations. So today, you will find out how reparations are actually building and transforming the Black community in St. Louis's North Side.
Uhuru. And we want to just kick it off by saluting our leadership, the leadership of the Uhuru movement, the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, and Deputy Chair Ona Zane Yeshitela, and all of the leaders of the African People's Socialist Party, including Director Akile Anai, whose birthday is today. We want to give a revolutionary salute to Director Akile. And we would not be here right now, and we would not be able to understand the world as we do without the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party and Chairman Omali Yeshitela that makes it possible for us to see the world through the eyes of the African working class.
Absolutely. And we also want to salute African People's Solidarity Committee Chairwoman Penny Hess, who is here today and one of our speakers, our guest speaker. And of course, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement Chair Jesse Neville, who is our MC as well, and all the comrades of the African People's Solidarity Committee, which is the cadre organization of white people created and working under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party to extend the African Revolution into the white community. And that's where we what we are doing, taking that message out to the white community and organizing for reparations.
Uhuru. And in just a few minutes, we're going to see a brief clip of a presentation by Chairman Omali Yeshitela and hear from our keynote speaker tonight, which is Chairwoman Penny Hess, who will be putting all of the work of the Reparations Legacy Project and the Reparations Investment Company in the context of the long, incredible struggle by African people in the city of St. Louis for self-determination and freedom. So we're very honored to have Chairwoman Penny with us tonight, and we'll also be talking more about what the Reparations Investment Company is, the plans, and how you can be involved in it.
Exactly. And, as the African People's Socialist Party Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who is the founder and the leader of the Uhuru movement, he has made it clear that colonialism is the total domination of the whole nation or people for the benefit of the colonizer. It's not the policy, it is the mode of production. Colonialism is actually the DNA of the parasitic capitalist economy in which wealth is produced for the benefit of white people through the theft of resources and life from African and all colonized people.
Uhuru, that's absolutely right, Kara. And just want to salute the chairman for that analysis. And as Chairwoman Penny has always emphasizes to us, and as the party says, for white people, this is how we change the world. This is how we fight back against the system, the endless war, the genocide, the colonialism built on the backs of African people. And we recognize, as the Uhuru movement says, it's bigger than Trump. The whole system must go.
Absolutely. So, with that said, we have a dynamic program planned for you today. Our goal is to raise 1,000 in reparations that go toward the African self-determination projects of Black Star Industries. And also, we are going to share with you, as Jesse mentioned, all of the exciting new developments with the Reparations Legacy Project and the Reparations Investment Company, and how those two are very closely related and are connected.
All right. Thank you, Kara. So I think we can go to our first presentation. If you want to introduce that, Comrade Kara.
Oh, yes. So our first presentation today is a video of the chairman himself, and it comes from the reparations teach-in that we had not too long ago.
Uhuru.
The 1865 is when slavery was officially over. So by 1914, you have Garvey out of Jamaica. And then he comes to this country, I think in 1919? No, earlier than that. But he comes to this country, builds this extraordinary movement of millions of African people from around the world who are saying this system does not serve us. And so they're declaring Africa for Africans at home and abroad. Africans for Africans everywhere on the planet Earth. Africa is our solution. And he began to build institutions that would negate the capacity of the colonizers where we were located to control us. That's why we had steamship lines, had factories, we had our own dolls and recording studios, all kinds of things. This is a negation of colonial power. And this is why they framed up Garvey, and who had got a steamship line, and said that he broke the law because somehow he used the mail to defraud the public because he sold stock to African people for this steamship line. So there's this history, a tradition of African people doing that. There is some history and tradition of white people trying to break free from the system too at different times. Civil War was one example of that. And there are other instances when that happened. But in recent history, it has not been so prevalent, even though you've got gangs of thugs running around in military fatigues and stuff like that and training. You saw them when Obama was running for office, sometimes coming to campaign rallies carrying weapons and things like that. You saw all of that. So there is something that was happening among white people too. But they have been without a general leadership up until now. That is recently. Now we see Trump, who provides the general leadership. The president of the United States is providing general leadership for white thugs and mobsters and white people who feel like they're being threatened. And there is no solution to this because we're going to keep making babies. You can't put enough prisons, and that's part of what the prison population is about. It's a form of birth control that's imposed on the African population to keep us from making babies. So they don't have a solution for this. That's what kicking all the immigrants is all about, because they are settlers. This country is a settler colony. And for settlers, you've taken somebody's land, you occupy the land and territory, then you don't want anybody else to come here. I remember in New Zealand where they would not allow anybody to come into New Zealand who was not white. They were trying to recruit white people, come to New Zealand. They are settlers. And because they are settlers, anybody coming into the country is a problem. And the whole system that people identify as capitalist system is founded on settlers, settler colonialism, the United States being a primary and perhaps an originator of settler colonialism. And then tell me a place where so-called capitalism is successful that did not have as its basis settler colonialism. Settler colonialism, stealing people's land, stealing people's resources, and not just stealing the land, but occupying the territory and taking the goods and resources that are there. That's what we're looking at. And they don't have a solution for that. What is the solution for that? What are they going to do at the next Munich conference that's resolved that contradiction? And the fact is that there is no solution. And this is not something that concerns so-called conservatives. Liberals too are frightened about the idea of growing up. That's why your property values go down when Africans move into a liberal white community or what used to be a liberal white community. That's why all of that stuff happens, because liberals too, settlers, have a problem with growing numbers of people. And the thing is that people have been confused is because historically in the past, when people talked about colonialism, they talk about England coming to the United States. They talk about France going to Haiti and things like that. And initially the objective was to come here and to get resources and send back to England, what they call the mother country, or send back to France, which was the mother country, or send back to Belgium, which was the mother country. I call them a mother something else, but that's another story. But the fact is they stayed. And so you have this colonialism that's changed its character, its nature even. So now you've got colonizers who now define themselves globally as white. The whole concept of whiteness, white people, Europe has its origin in slavery and colonialism. Was no such thing as white people as a people until colonialism and slavery. Was no such thing as Europe, except until of slavery and colonialism. Enslavement of Africans. And this is the thing that gave them identity. This is part of the superstructure, if you will. The ideological foundation. What have we said about racism? It is what? The ideological what? Underpinning of the whole social system. So people learn how to think based on how they live, based on the reality, based on how they extract, based on how they get their resources to live, etc. This is what creates the superstructure, the ideology, the philosophy that's born of this situation. That's why, early on, it used to blow my mind because I'm reading Marx, I'm reading Engels. And Engels, by the way, who lived with a woman, an Irish woman, in America, I don't remember, but I know he lived with her for a long time. And he described the Irish in horribly negative ways. I said, wait a minute, this guy's living with, but why? Because England was doing what? Had colonized Ireland. And Ireland was one of those places, been a long-standing colony for long, and it informed his consciousness too. As bright and brilliant as he was, his consciousness was informed by this objective material relationship that England had with the Irish, and et cetera. So these are factors that we're dealing with. I'm so happy about this conference today, this meeting on today. One of the things that makes it really important is that it puts into context the question of reparations. Because reparations is not somebody that's doing a damn good deed. Reparations is negating colonialism. But not only is negating colonialism, it's populism, if you will. They're talking about populism. We're getting masses of people to unite with this project, massive white people. We're the only force that's ever done this in history. You had Callie House, a long time ago. You had Market, you had other people who were talking about reparations, but usually reparations has been seen as a black thing. So only black people, the black movement talk about reparations. We're saying that there's no way to deal with the world as it really is without there being a mass demand. And this is the opportunity for white people, colonizers, settlers, in this instance, but colonizers in every instance, to make a self-criticism for the people of the world, because their brains have been warped by this relationship that we have. Because every day, everything that they see in the world validates this assumption, negative assumption they have about black people. I know we must be superior. That's why every time I see an African who's out here poor, begging, or the ones who come to clean my house or do these other kinds of things, this is clear material evidence of the superiority of white people versus African people, et cetera. This is a magnificent opportunity that we are offering people to deal with this question, and we're taking the vanguard on this for the first time in history. So this is a critical moment. This is why this is important. So reparations is not just doing somebody a favor, it's doing your ass a favor. I mean, to the extent when you understand that when we talk about reparations as a mode of production, not just as a policy by Israel, which is an illegitimate white nationalist, it's an illegitimate white nationalist extension of colonial power. It is the abandonment of the struggle for socialism by European Jews who had the same opportunity as Jews who were in Russia, and instead built a revolutionary organization, revolutionary party, the same opportunity as Trotsky, the same opportunity as others who united with the revolution. Instead, they united with colonialism and decided they're going to take Palestinian land and what have you. And this is the kind of stuff that we are dealing with. So this is we have this splendid opportunity now, and I want us to take advantage of this opportunity. And there is no cure inside the system. So what we are doing now is negating colonialism. Reparations goes toward even the investment company that's bringing resources to the colonized to negate the authority and ability of the colonizer to continue controlling us. Reparations is what you see up and down West Florissant. It's negating colonialism. Look at why they would spend 9 months before you can open up a damn bakery cafe in a location that for 20 years has been dealing with food and what have you. Well, look at what they would do at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning on July 29, 2022. Come with armored vehicles and things like that. Look at how we've already affected the north side of St. Louis, how more people now coming in to the north side of St. Louis. And look at how the reality is that what we were doing was impacting on this national geospatial intelligence entity that's changing that was challenging, deepening the impoverishment of African people, deepening the drive of African people out of St. Louis, taking properties, et cetera, using the power of eminent domain, which is the government, et cetera, to take property from the people. And in the process of doing that, taking 2,000 acres and where Africans are being pushed out. There have been 30,000 Africans being pushed out of North St. Louis in the last something like 10 years. 30,000. And how many have been pushed out since the tornado? And how few would have been pushed out if the Todd plan that Jesse Todd put forth. Jesse, I don't know if you know it, but that was why the Todd plan couldn't work, because the Todd plan was negating colonialism. That's why not that it couldn't work, but why it was so hard to get support, because the people who pay the other people who were all the persons demanded the conditions that we are confronted with now. How much better off would North St. Louis be if they had not intervened in the work that we were doing? If they had not tried to put us in prison for 15 years, if they had not talked about you're going to pay $250,000, if they had not spent so much spying and things on us that the equivalent of something like 2.5 million books is the stuff that they had taken from us. Look at where could those resources have gone to? If those resources had united with Black Power blueprint, because it is a blueprint for Black Power. And that's the contradiction. And I appreciate something that one of our comrades said the other day. All of the economic development work that we are doing should be a part of the blueprint for Black Power. Whether that's St. Petersburg, Florida, whether that's wherever we are engaged in doing this, it is Black Power blueprint. So
Uhuru. Salute to Chairman Amalia Shatella for that presentation. And as the chairman said, all of the work that the party has done for more than 50 years has provided the template, the blueprint for Black Power, for African self-determination. And I just want to salute the chairman again and salute the leadership of the party. And now we are very honored to have joining us to speak about the history of the struggle of African people here in the city of St. Louis as the struggle against colonialism, the chairwoman of the African People's Solidarity Committee and the author of Overturning the Culture of Violence. We're very honored to have with us Chairwoman Penny Hess. Uhuru.
Uhuru, Uhuru, everybody, Uhuru, Jesse, and Uhuru comrades. It's really great to be here. And I really appreciate that video that we just saw of the chairman Omali Shatella. And, just want to really salute the chairman, the incredible courage of Chairman Omali Shatella going against the system, going against the colonial mode of production and fighting for the liberation of Africa and African people everywhere. And Deputy Chair Onizine Shatella, the architect of the Black Power Blueprint, who is just so brilliantly a critical part of the overall resistance and fight back of the party based on the real on the ground taking territory, building the liberated dual and contending power in real time and seeing it and seeing how beautiful it is, and in a way that that people everywhere are seeing it. And everywhere we go, you go to the doctors and they know about the Black Power Blueprint. You just everywhere people know what this is. They truly just are in awe of this work that the party is doing. And as we have seen, and as the chairman has mentioned, the fact that the city of St. Louis has done everything possible to attempt to not see the Black Power Blueprint happen, but it is indeed happening in a really powerful way. And so I just wanted to unite with what the chairman was saying, that this is a magnificent opportunity to reach people. Reparations is doing ourselves a favor. We're just looking at this incredible time in history. We see these ICE raids here in St. Louis as well, and all over the country, where these armed SWAT team like thugs are coming in and snatching up Mexican people, also African people, and disappearing them basically right here inside the US. And we've also seen a very powerful mass resistance, especially in Chicago, of North Americans who have come out to stand and lock arms between the tanks of ICE and the people in a really powerful way. There was even a video of somebody wrestling. They were wrestling the ICE for a person, and they did finally get that person free. So this is a great time. This is a great time to be alive. We see what Trump is doing every day in the paper, another, basically an assault on, attempted assault on the right to anti-colonial free speech, for the ability of colonized people to express themselves and to fight for their liberation. But as the chairman has said, there is a shrinking ideological space for the colonizer, but the growth of the space for the colonized. So, everywhere here and all around the world, we see here the party on the front line, just, fighting. We see the Palestinian people, no matter what, they've turned Gaza, bombed it to rubble. US-backed settler colonial state of Israel's bombed Gaza to rubble, but they cannot defeat the Palestinian people and their leadership, Hamas. This is fighting, and we see the Mexican people here. And if anybody didn't see the powerful Hands Off Uhuru webinar last Saturday, please make sure that you go and see it and see how, Harry Simon from Unión del Barrio was saying how it was the African People's Socialist Party that put Unión del Barrio on the front lines and taught them how to struggle against ICE out in out in California, and really attributed the chairman and the leadership and the training and years of this powerful relationship between the African People's Socialist Party and Unión del Barrio that prepared them to be on the front lines of the struggle that they have jumped right into in such a powerful way that we've seen on various videos, etc. And, the chairman has said that we are speaking to the peoples around the world are becoming increasingly unified. He's saying that there is so much fear on the part of the colonizers, us, the shrinking of the white population, that white people will be the minority in the US. And for settlers to be the minority is scary to the settlers. So, I just wanted to say a couple of things about this question of gentrification. I do have a PowerPoint as well that I want to show, but that all the way back in Oakland wow, what was that, 1989? Or maybe it was before that, when Huey Newton was assassinated by the state. And the chairman's statement was that Huey was murdered in order to make Oakland safe for gentrification, because there were all these articles that were in the Oakland papers saying that, how Oakland was still had the reputation of being the city of the Black Panther Party and Huey Newton. So, the chairman said they murdered, they assassinated Huey to make Oakland safe for gentrification. And that was way back in the 80s. And now when I go to Oakland, and I lived there for 20 years under the leadership of the party, I hardly recognize it. It is so gentrified. It is so different. And I believe that tens of thousands of Africans, it was a predominantly African city, are gone. And there was gentrification. And gentrification is colonialism. Gentrification is genocide. And the slogan of gentrification and colonialism is kill everything that moves. It is genocide. Gentrification is colonialism, and colonialism is genocide. And so I see, even if you look on the internet, you see a lot of people struggling with this question. And I read articles, in the New York Times. There's always this, what do you call it? Like a little section of the Sunday paper that is called The Ethicist. And I always read it. It's always stupid, but I do read it. And they had a question this week on, is it bad to buy into a gentrified neighborhood? And, it's an interesting question, because it's saying that the person who is writing was Mexican, but then they made a lot of money and they want to move back to a neighborhood that they saw was gentrified and they don't want to be part of it. And of course, the answer is, of course, do what, feels good, kind of thing. But just that, this question is out there, the question of genocide, the question of gentrification. And I know that, I wanted to show a little video just to say that, I don't have to if there's not enough time, but I did have a video of these incredible demonstrations that are going on in Mexico City around gentrification right now. And they are, just up in a huge fury, because a lot of white people, North Americans from the United States, are going into Mexico and buying property up and making the neighborhoods of Mexico City just incredibly expensive for the Mexican people to live there. So they're fighting gentrification. The New York Times article said that the term gentrification was invented by a British sociologist in 1964, but I do want to say that's not right, because if you ever have a chance to read a book called White Mischief, quote unquote, which is a weird name, but it's about the gentrification in Kenya in the 1920s, when the origin of the name gentrification, because it came from British aristocracy, who were, a lot of them were serious cocaine addicts. These would be like the sort of bad children of, the aristocracy, the lords and ladies of England. So they sent their bad opium and cocaine addicted children to Kenya to be part of colonizing it. And they took a section of Kenya, a beautiful section called the Happy Valley. It's like in mountains. And they rebuilt all of their houses, looked exactly like British manor homes in the English countryside. So like if you see Downton Abbey or something like it looks like that. And, it talks about how here were all these drunken white people who built these houses, and they made the African, the colonized people of Africa in Kenya, their servants, and they would just have these dinners and their high tea and all of this stuff. And the African people were totally shocked. It was like they were always eating, and if they weren't eating, then they were doing drugs and having sex with other people's husbands and wives. And this was gentrification. Literally, it was the gentry of England building, replicating life as best they could from the British, who had the resources only because Britain was an empire upon which the sun never set, oppressing and stealing, the resources of people around the world. And by the way, just that whole stealing of those jewels from the Louvre, and everything in the Louvre is stolen from Africa, stolen from the peoples on the planet Earth, and it's where they have all their loot from colonialism there. So hopefully, it's somebody that is getting reparations with the taking back their resources. So I just wanted to show a brief PowerPoint that I showed, and this is about the city of St. Louis specifically, but it, talks about the whole conditions, the colonial mode of production. So just really want to salute the African community of St. Louis. It's an honor to be here to look at the history of St. Louis, of the incredible conditions of colonialism, the brutality with which African people have been subjected to here in the city of St. Louis, but yet the brilliant, brilliant resistance, the constant building of community, of dual power over and over again in just an absolutely amazing way. And the more that, the longer that I'm here, the more that I see it and experience it. It's really awe-inducing and very, very, very much of an honor to be able to be here and to understand that the work being carried out by Chairman Omali Shatella and Deputy Chair Onasene Shatella, next slide, are carrying on what African people have fought for literally for centuries here in this place called St. Louis. So salute to the chairman, to the African People's Socialist Party, and just the incredible leadership that the chairman has given us. Next slide. Salute to Deputy Chair Onasene Shatella and the powerful on-the-ground work that Deputy Chair and her office have and are leading and just have created here, making it real, making the theory of African internationalism concrete, and the understanding that African internationalism is a theory of practice. Next slide. Saluting the Northside Independent Neighborhood Association and the Black Power Blueprint, which has been built by the Office of Deputy Chair, in the neighborhoods around the Uhuru House and in North St. Louis. Next slide. And understanding that gentrification, this is a picture, as they say, is urban colonialism, and it is colonialism pure and simple. And colonialism, as we understand, is the colonial mode of production, the reality that colonialism is the very fabric of the society that we live in. It's not something from the past. It's not a phase of history. It's not a policy, but it is the essence of the social system that we live in today. St. Louis, next slide. St. Louis was the home of the Osage people originally. And of course, genocide was, was absolutely perpetrated against the Osage people and the others. There were other indigenous peoples here as well. Next slide. There were actually originally 60 mounds. So Osage mounds are, they were religious, ceremonial land. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but they're like big hills. There's only one left here in St. Louis, and it's sort of in a really respectful place, sort of behind a gas station on South Broadway. I have gone by there. It's about 4 minutes from my house, but there were 60 of those mounds, and only that one is left, and that's called Sugarloaf Mound. And I just saw in the local newspaper that the Osage people have just taken over custodianship of that mound. So that is very, very, very exciting. And this is a meme that said, before they built the arch, we built the mound. Osage Nation has reacquired Sugarloaf Mound. So that is from the struggle, obviously, of Indigenous people. So I just want to say some things. This is not necessarily in the right order, but next slide. There's wild things. I was remembering that in Oakland, I would run around the lake a lot, and there was always on the lake this giant building called the Scottish Rite Temple. And that, and it's very like creepy and scary. But I did remember, and I was talking to Maureen, and yes, it really did happen, that we sold pies there. They had some kind of big event, really a great event, and we sold hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars of holiday pies in the Scottish Rite Temple for a big event that they were having. So I remember that. And I'm saying that because I was thinking of it because of this thing here in St. Louis called the Veiled Prophet, because they always have these secret ceremonies and organizations like the Masons, or, here it's called the Veiled Prophet. And it's basically a secret society, sort of like the Bohemian Club of the actual ruling class of the US out in California, which actually many, many years ago, Kitty and Emmy, when she was a baby, we went on vacation and stayed like right next to the property of the Bohemian Club. And they do all these weird things, and they have secret ceremonies and all that. And there was the thing here in St. Louis is called the Veiled Prophet, and apparently it still exists, but every year they would have a parade, which I think maybe they keep that a little more low key now. And they would have this veiled person in this sort of medieval outfit. This is an actual photograph of one of them. And it would be from the ruling class of the city. So one time in the 1960s, when there was a lot of resistance going on, some people under the leadership of an African organization, or it might have been Percy Green, who was the leader of the Black movement here in St. Louis at that time, they had a whole thing set up that when they had the ceremony of the Veiled Prophet, that one of them would like leap off the balcony and pull his mask off, and they did, and it turned out to be the CEO of a local corporation. And so now, they're much more thing. But this is this is what they do. St. Louis here, but every major city has this kind of stuff. Next slide. This is the history. St. Louis is the history of African resistance. Dred and Harriet Scott to the resistance in 2014 after the brutal police murder of Michael Brown, which is actually what brought Chairman O'Malley Shatella and Deputy Chair here to St. Louis in a really powerful way. We see the victories of African people, the victory of the Haiti Revolution in 1804 is actually tied to the existence of St. Louis because Haiti won and defeated Napoleon had to sell his land that went all the way up the Mississippi, bordered the Mississippi for many miles, from Louisiana all the way up to the Canadian border. And he sold it really cheap to, I think it was Thomas Jefferson, bought it like a great deal. They had it, and because of that, and that was called the Louisiana Territory. And of course, St. Louis is in the Louisiana Territory. And of course, they always give it a French name after these French colonial kings or whatever, St. Louis. Next slide. There was the legal enslavement of African people, and they were sold at Lynch's slave pens, which are no longer, the buildings are no longer there, but the Solidarity Center is on a street between two streets, Lynch and Texas. So Lynch has a street named after him here in St. Louis. Next slide. And that African people were sold on the steps of the old courthouse, and that was the sheriff's sale. And so just to explain that, and by the way, the old courthouse and the arch, in terms of going up into the arch right now, are closed because they're federal. And so because of the shutdown, you can't go in there right now. But to think about, I did go to the Dred Scott exhibit, which is very, very powerful. It actually shows a lot. It tells the whole story of their life and all of the various lawsuits that they brought. And yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about that. But to say that African people were sold on the steps of the old courthouse because the main seller of African people were the Lynch's slave pens. So the ones that were sold on the steps of the old courthouse are people, white people who owned African people, but they went into bankruptcy and foreclosure. So the ones sold on the steps are in the sheriff's sale, meaning they were repossessed by the city and sold at a discount on sale. And when Deputy Chair goes to purchase some land on some of the LRA, that's called the sheriff's sale. Still, it's not on the steps of the courthouse anymore. It's on the steps of the sheriff's department. Next slide. So there was the Underground Railroad in St. Louis, and it did go through the old church that is where the Dred Scott, or the old courthouse, I mean, where the Dred Scott exhibit is. And of course, the struggle of Dred and Harriet Scott, who were enslaved, but brought their case to St. Louis that ultimately went to the Supreme Court that ruled, I believe in 1848 or around there, that African people have no rights that white people have to respect at all, that they were not US citizens. They were not covered under the Constitution. They had no right to free speech. And it was this case that was really directly precipitated the Civil War in the US. But they were very courageous. They had to hide their children, because at any time they could be kidnapped, their children could be kidnapped. They lived in incredibly dangerous situation. And they were just a very courageous, as we said. And Harriet Scott also filed a case, many cases, because the children would only come through a woman filing for her freedom, not a man. Next slide. But there were 250 freedom suits filed in St. Louis. This is a monument, and that lists all of the people, not just Dred and Harriet Scott. 250 African people filed for their freedom in St. Louis before 1860, between 1814 and 1860. And apparently, from what I've read, about half of them won. So just to say also, next slide, that one of the incredible places that I've read books about, there's actually a film. I think Jan saw a film. We weren't able to find it. We were trying to go there a few nights ago with SGLE. I don't know. It disappeared for us. But I do want to be able to show the film about Mill Creek Valley. I really want to urge people to read the book, The Last Children of Mill Creek Valley. There's another one, actually. Gwen Moore told us about a book that I just ordered that her mother wrote that's called Mother Wit. So, it was basically, I forgot the number. I think it was 450, maybe 500 or more acres that went from where St. Louis University is right now on the south side, all the way up in a corridor to parts of the north side. That was all African. It was 20,000 African people lived in this neighborhood. It's amazing. It is so beautiful. And, they had everything there. They had their own stores. They had their own university. The Harris Stowe University, which is actually still here in St. Louis, was part of Mill Creek Valley. They had, of course, churches. They had hospitals, which I'm going to show a picture of, the Homer G. Phillips. They just, it was 100% African people. And it was a beautiful, amazing place, from everything that I've read. And, it was like Tulsa and other places where there was, I guess, different, people with different levels of economic income, but it wasn't like class as North Americans would execute that. Everybody lived together. Everybody was proud if somebody became a doctor. And it also talked about something that I think is, because it centers around this one family, the one book I read. And, they saw two or three children that were homeless, and the family just took them in and raised them 100% as their own children, sent them to school, everything. And, it was a beautiful place. Next slide. That, a lot of powerful, amazing African people were from St. Louis, and many of them, some of them were from other neighborhoods, but many of them were from Mill Creek Valley, including, just Arthur Ashe and Josephine Baker and, many more. Next slide. The African people came here to St. Louis based on what was called the Great Migration, which is actually another book that I really want to urge people to read if you haven't. It's called The Warmth of Other Suns. And it traces the Great Migration from the South after the Civil War, after the US troops left, the end of Reconstruction, that and the US pulled out the troops through the compromise. Then African people were living in a total reign of terror, with, basically the Ku Klux Klan and all white nationalist violence was just unleashed on African people. So there became this great migration in which African people left the South. I think it was many millions from late 1800s through about 1970, went to Chicago, went to Harlem, came to St. Louis, came to Los Angeles. The African community of Los Angeles, very interestingly, dates from that period as well, and built their own communities. And Mill Creek Valley was part of that, part of African people coming here to build that. So next slide. In 1918, in East St. Louis, which is East St. Louis, Illinois, which is right across the river from here, from St. Louis, there was a rebellion of African people. It was predominantly African town. And it was that rebellion that sparked the Marcus Garvey movement. Marcus Garvey learned about this and began to soapbox and came to Harlem and was out in the parks and soapboxing and building the movement that became 11 million African people strong all around the world, fighting for Africa, for African people at home and abroad. And this is what also built, because African people literally walked across the bridge to St. Louis. They took everything. They had the white mobs burnt down the African community, a lot like Tulsa. There's, pictures of it burning, and African people literally walked across the bridge to St. Louis to, and built the African community of St. Louis. Next slide. And this was the period of Marcus Garvey, the rise of the Marcus Garvey movement. This is a picture of the chairman and deputy chair in front of a beautiful statue of Marcus Garvey in Jamaica. One of the things that was built, next slide, was the Homer G. Phillips Hospital. Homer G. Phillips was an African man who was in maybe the 1910s, 1920s, was an activist for civil rights for African people at that time. I mean, look at this hospital. I mean, it's huge. It was the largest African hospital west of the Mississippi and one of the largest ones in the entire United States. It trained African doctors, African nurses, and of course, they closed it, just like they tore down all of Mill Creek Valley. The city came in and bulldozed it literally and put African people into public housing. Well, they closed this hospital. It's still, the building is still used, but it's not a hospital anymore. Next slide. There's also a suburb, an African suburb called Kinloch, Missouri. It has been totally destroyed by the airport in part. And if you go there, I did go there. It was a heavily Garvey town. It was a 100% African town. It was a very amazing history. And if you go there now, it looks like Roman ruins with like vines growing up all over ruined buildings and stuff. It's just another attack. It just shows another attack on the brilliant leadership and self-determination programs that African people created for themselves. So today, yeah, this is a picture of Kinloch today. It was, again, it was once a beautiful, beautiful town. Next slide. The city of St. Louis created a plan called the Team 4 plan, and they always say that it never passed, but in fact, they used it. It didn't have to pass, the Board of Aldermen. It was used. It was what they used. And one of its tenets was benign neglect, basically to starve out North St. Louis, to not give any resources to North St. Louis whatsoever. Again, another typical tactic that cities everywhere have used. Next slide. After they tore down and totally destroyed Mill Creek Valley, which also had, again, benign neglect. The city never put resources in it. They could have made it be given the resources to maintain that community. So they tore it down and they put people into this gigantic public housing project called Pruitt-Igoe, which is up near where the NGA is now, the National Geospatial Intelligence, whatever it is. So next slide. Yeah, so just a salute to the resistance, salute to the struggle of Mike Brown, the Ferguson struggle in 2014. Next slide. So the city has built the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, which again is very close to where Mill Creek Valley and Pruitt-Igoe public housing were. Oh, and I just wanted to say too, that when African people were put into that Pruitt-Igoe, the United States government tested chemical weapons by dropping them from the rooftops of Pruitt-Igoe down into the community. And many, many African people grew up, getting cancer and dying early deaths due to all of, just this brutal, literally chemical warfare against the African community here. So the NGA is a geospatial intelligence agency that in which they have created the ability to launch drones that could go 4 miles up into the atmosphere, and that they would be able to, as they say, see a stick of butter in somebody's hands on the ground. And they use the NGA and this imaging that they do to attack Hamas, to kill Yahya Sinwar. They're using it to attack and use in war, especially against the Palestinian people at this time. It's very, very deadly. It's very vicious. And as the chairman always says, because it's only about a mile or so from the Uhuru House in North St. Louis, that if anybody wanted to say we're fighting back against the US and anybody wanted to bomb the US, what are they going to pick? They're going to pick the NGA. That's what's attacking, that's what they use to attack oppressed peoples around the world. But it's, of course, they place it right in the middle of the African community. So, just again, the significance of the party building the Black Power blueprint in this, taking what the city has never done and exposing it. And this is part of why, as we know, that the Uhuru Bakery Cafe has had to fight like hell. I mean, it's taken many, many, many months to get a permit, because everything that the Black Power Blueprint is doing is putting the city to shame and showing that they have never met the needs or respected the actual self-determination of African people. So yeah, so this is actually an older picture of the Uhuru Bakery Cafe, but it does show it is still being worked on, but it does show the fence there. It's very beautiful. It's going to be opening soon, and it's going to be very, very exciting. Every time anybody, we are there sometimes for press conferences held by the Office of Deputy Chair, and people are always stopping, asking if they can order. So it's going to be great. They're going to be doing the pie campaign this year inside the bakery. So very exciting. Can't wait. And then I just really wanted to show everybody the Reparations Legacy Project. This is the building that we're going to be renovating as part of, the whole part of the party's struggle for dual and contending power in North St. Louis. So this is going to be a beautiful building, 4 apartments. I'm very excited. It's going to be a great project. Everybody's going to get involved. Come here as much as possible. We're going to get this done. It's going to be absolutely an incredible victory. So Uhuru, we are winning. Vanguard up, Uhuru.
Uhuru. Uhuru, Chairwoman Penny. Thank you so much, Chairwoman Penny Hess. And I think Comrade Carol will be joining me up here. But I just wanted to salute. That was a brilliant presentation. I'm just really appreciative for you being on this event tonight, Chairwoman Penny, and laying out the whole history, beginning with the overview that you gave at the beginning, summing up this period of history that we're in, as Chairman Omali Shatella has made it possible for us to understand, and then going into the whole history of St. Louis from the African internationalist understanding. Incredibly powerful, and it really answers the question, the most important question that we're going to talk about now. When we talk about the Reparations Legacy Project and the Reparations Investment Company, the most important question is, why is this necessary? Why is this so important? And I think that presentation answers that question better than you could possibly ask. So I just want to salute Chairwoman Penny and Uhuru Kara. There you are. Uhuru. So we're going to jump right in now. So Kara is, by the way, as was mentioned earlier, the coordinator of the Reparations Legacy Project, an amazing campaign that was called on for USM to carry out by the leadership of the chairman and deputy chair. And the newest front is called the Reparations Investment Company. So we're going to start off by talking about the Reparations Investment Company. We just heard why this needs to happen, and now we're going to talk about how and what that is going to look like and how you can be a part of it. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about the Reparations Legacy campaign as a whole. And we're going to try to go through this quickly because we will have time tonight. We're going to have a brief appeal presentation to talk about where the resources are going that people are contributing tonight right after this. And then we want to open it up for questions from our audience, for Chairwoman Penny on this amazing presentation that we just saw. And before I go into that, I just want to say that I mentioned earlier that the Days of Reparations campaign has about $7,500 left to raise. And I am not that good at math, so somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that means that if everybody across all 3 platforms right now that is watching this event donated approximately an average of $250 each, that would be $7,500. And to get to at least our benchmark of 1,000 tonight, that would be everybody watching on all 3 platforms donating about $33 each. And I do want to appreciate the people who already have contributed tonight, including Secretary General Ali, who contributed $40, Uhuru SG Ali, our comrade Kitty, who contributed $25, and our vice chair, Amanda, who contributed $50. So towards that goal of 1,000, that benchmark, we have $885 left to go. And you can go to uhurusolidarity.org/pay-reparations to make your contribution, and we'll shout you out on our event tonight. So I'm going to pull up the slides now and talk to you about the Reparations Investment Company, build the independent African economy. And go to the next slide. So, of course, again, saluting the chairman, the leader, the founder of the Uhuru movement, our leader, Chairman Omali Shatella, and the party for creating the strategy and the place for us as white people to have a role under the leadership of the African working class. Next slide. And Deputy Chair Ona Zanea Shatella, as Chairwoman Penny said, the architect, the visionary, the builder of the Black Power Blueprint, and so many other economic programs of the Uhuru movement, which, as the chairman says, all of which are part of a global Black Power Blueprint. And also want to again salute our chairwoman, Penny Hess. By the way, next week, same time, same place, there will be an event saluting 49 years of white solidarity with Black power. For that 49 years, Chairwoman Penny Hess has been there on the front lines, showing white people what genuine solidarity with Black power looks like. And the Reparations Investment Company is modeled on, inspired by, under the leadership of, and contributing to the Black Power Blueprint. And Chairwoman Penny talked about the Black Power Blueprint. The Black Power Blueprint is this incredible anti-colonial economic self-reliance, economic development, self-empowerment initiative that the Uhuru movement created in North St. Louis, but again, that has existed under the party's leadership in many places throughout the world. In St. Louis, it took on a particular form of acquiring and developing abandoned properties left to rot by the St. Louis city government through the colonial policies that we just heard about, and transforming those properties into beautiful community-driven institutions of self-determination for African people. And the Reparations Investment Company is a component of this greater vision. And these are some examples. This map is probably outdated now, of the West Florissant corridor, showing just some of the many programs and institutions of the Black Power Blueprint in that community of North St. Louis. So what is the purpose of the Reparations Investment Company? The purpose is to take the work that we do as the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, which is about what? Which is about raising reparations, which is about turning over resources hoarded in the white society on the pedestal of the oppression of African people, and unleashing those resources back into the process and the struggle of African people to reclaim control of their resources and lives and destinies as a stand of reparations, not of charity. So the Reparations Investment Company is basically the party, the chairman, deputy chair, calling on USM to take that to a higher level, to institutionalize the work that we do, to generate resources as economic development for Black Star Industries through purchasing and renovating properties on the North Side. Next slide. So the mission of the Reparations Investment Company is reparations through redistribution of resources, wealth, and skills towards the Black community-led revitalization, property renovation, training, accessible housing, sustainable community growth, and economic development. And the vision is to build a reparations-centered network of investors, donors, contractors, skilled laborers, and volunteers who contribute towards sustainable Black community-led real estate acquisition, renovation, and development that generates lasting social impact. Next slide. And this program will fund reparations to the work of Black Star Industries through multiple real estate pathways, through renovating and selling properties, acquiring properties that have been left to deteriorate by the city, bringing in the skills of tradespeople and contractors and construction workers and electricians and roofers and carpenters that can turn over those skills towards renovating those properties so that they can be sold for profit to fund the economic development initiatives of the Uhuru movement. So it has, as everything that Deputy Chair does, it has multiple different positive effects that compound each other. It contributes to repairing the neighborhoods, and it contributes towards generating resources for the movement that is leading the process of empowering and building self-determination in the African community. It will also include prehabbing properties where it's basically stabilizing properties and then selling them to investors or homeowners to fully rehabilitate, or renovating and retaining certain properties for long-term rental income and equity growth. So basically having properties that will be available for the movement to rent and to have ongoing income to fund all the programs of the movement. Next slide. And why is this necessary? Because of everything Chairwoman Penny just told us, because this is an example, this is the map of the Mill Creek Valley, just a segment of it, because of the legacy of colonial destruction. You know, Chairwoman Penny said it best. Gentrification is colonialism. Colonialism is genocide. So this is an anti-gentrification program. This is an anti-colonialism program. This is an anti-genocide program. It is a pro-self-determination, pro-African people having control of all of the resources in their communities, including real estate, which real estate has been one of the most vicious arenas through which the exploitation and attacks on African people have been carried out. Next slide. So the scope of work, I already mentioned this, but is to purchase properties for flipping, selling, prehabbing, or as rentals, and also to receive donated properties. Next slide. And the goal is to build the capacity to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, ultimately, to raise resources to support the work of Black Star Industries. Next slide. To win skilled and unskilled volunteers. That means you. That means those of us who are in this meeting tonight, jumping into this and making this happen. Next slide. To win donations of properties and materials. And we're going to talk specifics in a minute. People can donate properties, materials, and labor to the Reparations Investment Company. Next slide. To employ members of the movement and to build job opportunities in the community. Next slide. To create and develop systems and spin-offs for renovations and rehabs. So again, I love this aspect, as with everything, about how Deputy Chair envisions these programs, is that it's never just one thing on its own. It always, creates all of these other opportunities to build exponentially. And this is going to include so many things, whether it's, having our own, real estate brokers for the movement, real estate agents, construction, contractors, rental management coordinators, and so much more. It's going to create a whole new component of the economic infrastructure of the independent African economy. Next slide. So this is about creating a full real estate capacity for the Uhuru movement. And if you're sitting there wondering, how could I want to be a part of this? How do I get in on this? You could become what Deputy Chair calls a reparations agent. They call them real estate agents. We're calling it reparations agent. You can take a 4 to 6 month class and get a real estate license in Missouri and, become an actual licensed real estate agent to work on behalf of the Reparations Investment Company. Next slide. So the first renovations project is the beautiful property located at 2210 Harris Avenue on the north side. Next slide. So this is an image of the property, and you can see there's a lot of work to be done inside and out. Next slide. These are just some more pictures. It's very spacious. It has an amazing view of the park across the street. It's a lovely, lovely building. Next slide. And these are just some more pictures showing you the interiors. Next slide. And this is what it's going to look like, perhaps some variation of this in the future, because the vision is for the Harris property to be transformed into beautiful fourplex rental apartments in that community. Next slide. So the next steps include fixing the roof. This is number one. We got to fix the roof within the next month to get the roof redone for the building, to make a comprehensive list of all materials and tools needed, architectural plans. There will be some demolition, wall scraping, electrical and sewer lines needing to be installed and fixed, securing the floors and subfloors, the doors and the windows, designing and getting architectural drawings and permits. And if there's an architect, or if we want to, if people know architects who will volunteer, we can recruit architects to volunteer to make this happen. Framing, roughing in all of the systems, plumbing, HVAC, electrical, putting in the windows, drywall, tape walls, taping the walls, painting the walls, putting in the flooring, fixtures for the plumbing, HVAC and electrical, and the final touches, the last flourishes to make it the way that everything Deputy Chair touches looks, the beautiful artistry of the African working class. Next slide. So you can get involved by joining the reparations brigades. You can volunteer, whether you are skilled or unskilled. You can become skilled through this process. People who are roofers, electricians, plumbers, painters, volunteers, everyone is welcome. You can donate materials, tools, equipment, or funds for renovations. We need professionals, architects, contractors, and tradespeople to bring your expertise into this process. You can form a brigade. You can form a team in your community, in your neighborhood, at your job, on your campus, to be a team that takes on a phase of the project. Like, let's say your yoga class or your company, they have certain hours, volunteer hours that they need to get done each year. You could spend those hours working on a particular phase of the Harris project. And finally, spread the word, share, recruit, and build this movement. Next slide. And this is a call from Deputy Chair that I want to put out loud and clear here. This is a call to every single person watching this right now. Sign up for trainings. Did you know? I didn't until I learned from Deputy Chair. Other people did know, but I did not. That Home Depot has a program called Path to Pro, free trainings on different construction trade skills. So Deputy Chair and USM now are calling on all of our members and comrades, sign up for trainings and let us know when you sign up. Sign up right away. Go to Home Depot's website or look for other entities, companies, corporations, organizations that provide training. We need to start building up the skill set within USM to be able to hit the ground running on this. Next slide. So this is the timeline between now and the end of this year, which is almost over. So these are some urgent priorities that are on the agenda right now. And donations are coming in, by the way. We'll announce them in a little bit, but thank you everybody, and continue going to wrong event, uhurusolidarity.org/paid-reparations. And Chairwoman Penny mentioned Habitat for Humanity. Thank you. They also have training on building houses. So check out Home Depot, check out Habitat for Humanity, get signed up. Let's get these skills and bring them to the Reparations Investment Company. So the first thing that's going to happen is that the renovations team is going to be formed, and we want you to be a part of it. It's going to be centered out of St. Louis, but people can also join from other areas, and it's going to be formed in the coming week, and we'll start meeting weekly. So you can be a part of that. You can let us know in the chat if you're interested. You can sign up for trainings. We're calling for everybody to do that. Home Depot, Habitat for Humanity, look for other places as well. Sign up for trainings. We will be, between now and basically phase one, we will be launching the volunteer recruitment process of winning organizations, churches, student groups, companies to begin mobilizing volunteers for the Harris renovations project. We will be getting a new roof by the end of November. We will be working to recruit architects to work on the design and to develop the full renovations plan. We are in the midst now of consolidating our investment strategy, and we will be putting out more of how that works and how that looks and how people can invest in this. And we will be producing a promotional brochure. Next slide. So I'm going to turn it over to Kara, but I just want to finish by saying this is a groundbreaking initiative, and I really salute the chairman and deputy chair and the party. And just last month, and I'm actually self-critical, I didn't have a picture of this in there, we had a beautiful event where we went down to that building and we named the 4 apartments in honor of African figures, historical figures in St. Louis, including Dred and Harriet Scott, including Callie House, and also including our very own People's Alderman, Jesse Todd, who was there, and we unveiled that as he was there, and he gave an amazing presentation that day. So this is an exciting project, comrades, and everyone's going to be a part of it, and we're so excited to get started. So this project is woven into the campaign called the Reparations Legacy Project, and I'm going to turn it over to our RLP coordinator to talk about what that means.
Uhuru, thank you so much, Jesse. That was an incredible presentation. I want to be part of the Reparations Investment Company, and yeah, we're going to now talk about well, actually, before I get to the Reparations Legacy Project, I do want to shout out, we have a few more donations. Camille has donated 60 and KC has donated 10. So now we are at 815. But I'm going to throw in 50 in there too.
Uhuru. So that brings us to
60 or
765
65? Yeah,
left to raise. Uhuru.
great. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk now about the Reparations Legacy Project, which is actually the funding of the Reparations Investment Corporation. Next slide. So let's go ahead and hear again from the chairman. This is a great quote that he says about reparations.
You didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't have anything to do with it. Slavery is both our legacies. It's mine and it's yours. You inherited the wealth of slavery, and I inherited the poverty of slavery. I am determined to change this legacy that's been left up to me. If you don't change yours for yourself, I'm going to change yours too. So it's best for you to join this one and both of us.
It always gives me chills. Yeah. So that's exactly what the chairman's saying is what legacy be? What do we want to leave as our legacy as white people? Do we want, more of the same corrupt, horrible, despicable world that we live in brought on by colonialism? Or do we want a different legacy? Do we want a different way of, and that's what the Uhuru movement and Chairman O'Malley promises us with African internationalism. Next slide. So yes, every currency is tainted. Every bit of coin should go back to the African people, the indigenous people of this land. And yes, this is what we're talking about. Uhuru, keep going. Next slide. So what we're talking about is reparations is not philanthropy or charity. What it actually is it's what we owe, what our responsibility is as white people to pay back the stolen wealth, the stolen resources, the stolen people, everything that African and indigenous people have had to endure for 500 years under colonialism. Next slide. So what we're trying to say is that, this is a grassroots organization. It has survived on small donations. And has been amazing. It shows what the people can contribute, the power of the people. We do want to also find those large donations, and that's where RLP is at work. So, there's people who have access to large generational wealth, financial wealth, and we want them to, unite with reparations and redistribute that back into the Black self-determination programs of the Uhuru movement. That's our mission. Next slide. So that's where we're at. We're building a massive campaign for reparations and we want to win those large contributions. We want to go to the white businesses and different people, which we'll talk more about. Next slide. So our scope is that we want to build that political campaign to promote reparations for the Black Power Blueprint. We need to also have donor outreach, people who can find those donors. That's through research. And, people who are interested in contacting wealthy organizations, anyone having good ideas about reaching out celebrities and public figures, people who know people. I mean, we're calling on the people of this movement to unite with this and help us find these donors. Next slide. So, we're going to have in February a conference, and it's going to be in St. Louis. We want to encourage everyone to come to this. It's going to be February 28th, 2026. You will get to see for yourself the Black Power Blueprint. I've had the honor, I live in Oakland, California. I've had the honor now of seeing it 3 years. And I don't know if in a row, but definitely 2 years in a row. And every time I come, something new and multiple things new are happening. And this time you're going to see actually the Harris property, as Jesse was saying, I see in progress. Next slide. So we want to network, build book and speaking engagements. We want to go to the churches, the synagogues, the universities, other organizations, and giving circles, creating those or finding those. Next slide. So what does the Reparations Legacy Project work actually look like? Well, we kind of mentioned this earlier. It's about promoting, inquiry letters, donor engagement. We talked about the giving circles and holding house events, even if you know people who know people or people. Group tours of the Black Power Blueprint. And we want to get 1 million requests. We know there's many people out there in this that have built up the wealth of 1 million. So that all needs to go back. Next slide. We want to salute one of our amazing Reparations Legacy Project ambassadors, Mark Anderson. He has been with the movement since the 80s. And there he is with Deputy Chair Onozine Yeshitela. And he has just been also just guiding us too and giving us so many wise points on how to move with the Reparations Legacy Project in this new period. Next slide. So here's our timeline. We want people to join the committee and we want to start meeting weekly on that. We need to produce those promotional materials. We want to get a donor outreach booklet, an actual brochure, make a video. We want to consolidate plans for the February conference on the 28th, February 28th in St. Louis. And we want to start outreaching to those potential major donors and set meetings. Next slide. So please join the committee. You can get involved through promotions, planned giving, donor research and outreach, database management, become an ambassador like Mark. Next slide. I think that's it with the slides.
Uhuru. Thank you, Kara. It's a very, very exciting campaign, and just want to salute you and salute again the chairman and deputy chair and Mark Anderson. Absolutely, want to salute him. And I don't want to steal their thunder, so I won't announce all of them. How about that?
Sure.
But I do want to shout out. We've been getting donations. Our appeal presenters are going to tell us all of them. But I wanted to mention one in particular because I think it's important, which is Maureen, who put in $250. So I just really want to salute Maureen for that contribution of reparations. And I want to remind everybody that if everyone across all platforms matched Maureen, not only would we meet our benchmark of 1,000, we would meet the goal of 7,500 that is left to raise for the Days of Reparations to African people. So Uhuru to Maureen, salute that stand of reparations. And that is setting the example. So you can go to uhurusolidarity.org/pay-reparations. And without any further ado, we're going to turn it over to our vice chair and national treasurer, Comrade Amanda, and Virginia, our newly incoming membership chair of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. There's a little unexpected announcement for you. So I'm gonna move so that okay.
Sure.
Go through it.
Hello, everybody. Just want to really appreciate everybody for joining tonight, Uhuru, Virginia, and congratulations on your new role as well, Virginia. Uhuru. And if AV can bring up our slideshow, but yeah, I just want to really appreciate everyone who is here tonight, who has made pledges and already contributed to our $30,000 goal for this campaign. I want to just take a second to, because we're saying we have 7,500 left of this goal, and the way we got there is by many of you that are on this call, some people that couldn't attend. So I'm just going to quickly read through these names, and some of these are pledges that people have made, and they have fundraisers coming up. So Camille has a pledge of $1,500. Jan had a pledge of $1,200. Indigo has a pledge of $500. Virginia has a pledge of $500. Dylan had a pledge of $500. We have Vito doing at least $100. Brendan doing $1,000. Cesar doing $500. Frank doing $50. We have comrades in St. Pete, including Gemini, who's doing $500, and Ryan, who's doing $500. They have a fundraiser coming up end of the month. Diane doing $50, Janet doing $1,000, Kara doing $500, Wendy doing $500, Joel Hamburger doing $250. The Puget Sound comrades had a dinner that raised over $1,700. Raining Newman pledged $150, Robert Gallup $100, Peter Roderick $100. Paula $50, Anne gave $10, Ashton Beavers $20, Angelica $200, Raya $100, Paul Kessler $150, Hallie $200, Ellen, who gave $250, and Redbeard, who's given $400, myself, who gave $500. Oakland Comrades had a yard sale that gave or raised $1,000. Jesse Neville, who gave $1,000. Then we have, excuse me, I'm gonna have to scroll a smidge. Ahmad, who gave 25, Kate, who gave 50, Janice, who gave 500, SG Alley, who gave 200, Maureen, who gave 500. This is on top of what was given today from those comrades. Kitty, who gave 100, Stephanie, who gave 50, Janine, who gave 150, Ruby, who gave 200, Susan, who gave 100, Johan, who gave 500, Leah, who gave 1,500. Again, Commerce in St. Pete had another fundraiser that raised 1,370. Penny, Chairwoman Penny, who gave 500. And then, some other donations here from Brendan, Gregory, James, Carol, Maggie Riddle, who gave 100. Lisa gave 90. We have Johan's father and stepmom, who gave 100. Melissa, who gave 25. Pete, who gave 125. Amanda, a different Amanda, who gave 125. Wendy, who gave 100, or excuse me, 250. Susan, who gave another 72. William gave 50. Dawn gave 30. Mufasa gave 100. Bill gave 25. Becky gave 100. And then we have Connor, who gave 1,000. So if anyone was doing the math, that adds up so that we have 7,500 left. So I just want to really appreciate everyone for doing that. We can go to the next slide here. And go ahead, Virginia.
Hello, yeah, we really want to salute our leadership. Chairman Omali Yeshitela of the African People's Socialist Party, the Deputy Chair Onizane Yeshitela. And I also just wanted to quickly mention that one of our viewers on YouTube, Charles Davis, has also pledged $20 as well.
Great.
Uhuru.
We'll go to the next slide here. And we also have $50 from Chairwoman Penny. So Uhuru to Chairwoman Penny. So you can keep going to uhurusolidarity.org, and you can either click where it says pay reparations, or you can go to uhurusolidarity.org/pay-reparations. So we can go to the next slide here. Go to the next slide again. We talked about this. $30,000 is the goal. 7,500 left to raise. 1,000 for tonight's goal. And I'm going to read through all these names. Make sure we didn't miss anybody. SG Alley gave 40 tonight. Katie gave 25. I gave 50. Camille gave 60. Casey gave 10. Ruby gave 40. Kara gave 50. Maureen gave 250. Charles gave 20. Sandy gave 10. Penny gave 50. And that brings us to 395 left to go. So not too much at all. And we're going to try to go through these slides quickly because I know we're a little bit behind time. We have Jesse Neville who's going to give 50. Uhuru, I'm going to let our calculator do the math there. But we can go to the next slide here. Virginia, if you want to just talk quickly about Black Star Industries.
Absolutely, yeah. Black Star Industries is the African People's Socialist Party's economic infrastructure, really, for the liberated African nation. The goal of Black Star Industries is to begin the process of building an economic system for African people. The mission of BSI is building economic development and commerce for and between African people worldwide. And donations from these pledges go towards Black Star Industries, the anti-colonial independent African economy.
Uhuru, we can go to the next slide here. Thank you, Virginia. Again, we're going to try to go through these slides quickly. We're going to be showing you the Black Power Blueprint, which is one of the programs of Black Star Industries. And, I think we heard the chairman talk about how, this is a program that when we think about it right now, we might think about it in St. Louis, but it really is the work that the party is doing all over the world. And it is a blueprint so that the type of work that's being done, being led by the party here, can actually be replicated in cities all across the world. So we can go to the next slide here. And again, Virginia, I'm going to go through these a little bit quick, so it might not match what we have in the notes here. But this is an example of, part of the Black Power Blueprint. It's the Uhuru House here. This is a fully renovated building. When Deputy Chair first acquired it here in St. Louis, it did not have a floor. Part of the wall was missing, and now it is a beautiful event space with offices above. And across here, we can see the community garden. We can go to the next slide here. An outdoor event space. Here is the Gary Brooks Community Garden. This is bringing fresh produce to the north side Black community of St. Louis. I believe they give out about 1,000 pounds of fresh fruits and vegetables each year. And yeah, it's just really, really amazing to see. We can go to the next slide here. This is just more pictures. Go to the next slide here. Then we have the One Africa, One Nation Farmers Market. This is another program of the Black Power Blueprint. And this is, goes back to that mission of Black Star Industries of building commerce by and between the African community. So this is one that's here in St. Louis. They also have this in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. These are just some of the vendors that they have there. We can go to the next slide here. And we have the Black Power Vanguard's community basketball court shown here. This is Deputy Chair Onazinne Shatella on that beautiful, what do you call that, seal. And then behind you can see the mural. And we had attended a really amazing opening for this as well. And this is their African Women's Doula Training Program. So this was inside the Uhuru House, so you can kind of see what that looks like inside a little bit there as well. And it's, addressing the colonial conditions that affect African people, and especially in terms of infant and maternal mortality rate, where I believe that African women are 3 times more likely to die in childbirth compared to white people. And, this is just taking that aspect of life and taking it back in the hands of African people. They're taking it back for themselves. Go to the next slide here. I grabbed this updated photo. This is the inside now of the Uhuru Bakery and Cafe, plus the sign on the outside, and that will be opening very soon. We're very excited about that. And this cabinet, I mentioned Paul's name as one of our donors. He also built these beautiful cabinets by hand, the display case for the food. So that is going to be open as well. Virginia, if you want to take over and do the next 4 slides, if you will.
Yeah, and we were, let me see where we're on. Okay, I see it now. And so and I guess this is coming up, the Shambaza Freedom Farm. Wow, this is really exciting. Black Power Blueprint is also going to be opening this Freedom Farm, which will be greenhouses that will grow food year round, and fresh produce will be used right in the Uhuru Bakery and Cafe. So exciting. Next slide. And another project is the African Independence Workforce Program. The mission of the African Independence Workforce Program is to reverse the negative economic and social impact of the colonial prison economy and the prison system. And as APEDF Board President Onezene Yeshitela says, this will shape the future of African youth directly with housing, job training, life services, and economic development as a way of self-determination. Next slide.
Uhuru, Virginia, if I can
I'll
interrupt
go.
quick, I want to thank Lisa, who gave $35 to Uhuru Lisa. With everybody else that has given, we only have $360 left to go to meet our goal for tonight. So everyone, please keep going to uhurusolidarity.org/pay-reparations and help us get to this goal of $1,000 tonight. Uhuru, go ahead, Virginia.
Uhuru. And yeah, on the next slide, we see that the work of the African People's Socialist Party is not just in St. Louis, Missouri, but also in occupied Tanzania, otherwise known as South Africa. And there they have, I want to say there's a garden that the children helped planted there. Next slide. Yeah, it's the Malcolm X Garden. It's just beautiful. And it's Project Thutankani, the community garden in occupied Tanzania. Just amazing. So all of the same beautiful anti-colonial benefits that we get from the community garden there in St. Louis, the same thing happening right on the continent in occupied Tanzania. Next slide.
Thank you, Virginia. So from the chairman today, and these programs are part of the party's anti-colonial strategy for Black Power. That's what we're contributing to with this $30,000 goal. And as the chairman says here, it's a struggle for African community, economic and political power. It is against the system that is responsible for our poverty and our powerlessness, meaning African people. And it's the most positive and transformative thing that is happening today. So again, keep donating. Go to uhurusolidarity.org/pay-reparations. And we can go to the next slide here. And I believe, reloading my email here, it looks like we got $25 from Ruth as well. Uhuru, Ruth, good to see you here. And I know that Ruth, I don't want to speak for her, but I know that Ruth will be very important in terms of volunteering for the Reparations Investment Company as well. So I just want to really appreciate Ruth for being here. And I want to just, we heard about the Reparations Legacy Project, but I just want to say and kind of add to that again, the goal for this campaign is $30,000, but we know that the amount owed to African people as reparations is closer to, I believe, $14.2 trillion for labor alone, and that number most likely needs to be adjusted now for inflation, and perhaps somebody else knows what that updated number is, but this is really a drop in the bucket, and we know that, we can go to the next slide here, that the resources that belong to African people are being hoarded in the white community through our access to wealth, either personally or through our social connections. And I just want to extend as well the invitation to anyone, if you want to be a reparations legacy donor, or if you know someone that would like to be a donor, you can email us privately, or you can send us a private message in the chat, or you can let us know publicly. And you can donate through donor advised funds, donations of stocks, which just want to really appreciate people that have already done that as well, and more. And you can talk to us after, and we can kind of set up a plan for that. But yeah, we want as many resources as possible, all of them, to go back to African people so that we can be part of building a world free from oppression under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. So just want to really appreciate you all. Continue to donate. I believe we're going to go to the next phase of this program, but again, go to Black Power, or go to uhurusolidarity.org/pay-reparations.
uhurusolidarity.org/pay-reparations. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Virginia. And thank you to everybody who has donated thus far. And thank you to our calculator who's been letting us know we got $360 left to raise. So you can continue to donate even after this event wraps up. Continue going to uhurusolidarity.org/pay-reparations. Make your contribution. And what we're going to do now is open it up for any questions for our main presenter, Chairwoman Penny, or any questions or comments that people wanted to raise for tonight's event. And I do want to say that we did have some comments coming in. Charles Davis says, I want to be a real estate agent for the Black Power Blueprint. All right, we got our first reparations real estate agent. We'll be in touch, Charles. That is exciting. So that's what we're talking about. And other people can be like Charles and sign up to be a reparations real estate agent for the Reparations Investment Company. We also want to appreciate Paula, who is watching on Facebook. We miss you, Comrade Paula. Paula was here for the summer project a few years ago. Amazing, longtime member of the Solidarity Movement. Paula says, salute this event. And we also had some comments in the chat. I read the one earlier from Chairwoman Penny about Habitat for Humanity offering trainings on building houses as well. And just people saluting the incredible presentation on the true history of St. Louis. Virginia was in there mentioning the important book recommendations that Chairwoman Penny was listing out. SG Alley said, thank you, Chairwoman Penny, enlightening us about the disgusting white settlers, the landed gentry of England, being vicious colonialists in Kenya and worldwide. Reparations, not gentrification. Right on. So just want to see people can put their comments in the chat for the Q&A. And any questions or comments that people have. And we want to appreciate Anne, by the way, an amazing force in the Solidarity Movement. She builds everywhere she goes, whether she's in Seattle, whether she's in St. Pete, or whether she's in Ecuador, where she is right now. That's our comrade Anne. She put in $25. So uhuru to comrade Anne. That brings us to 335 left to raise. Do we have any questions or comments coming in? Let me check to see here.
Uhuru, I'm seeing something from the chat.
Okay.
Camille says, I'm very excited to take workshops and classes to build my skills. That's awesome, Camille.
That is awesome.
I want to do that too. I had no idea that Home Depot offered that. So that's great. We want to definitely get everybody on board with developing their skills. That's one thing with the Uhuru movement is that you learn a lot of new skills that you actually take out into other sectors of your life.
Right. So for people outside St. Louis, what are some of the best ways to get involved in RLP and RIC? Well, I'll say for RLP, all of the work makes sense for people, whether you're in or outside of St. Louis. The kind of research, developing materials, building the conference, outreach, finding potential donors, reaching out to them, setting up meetings with them. There's so many things that people can do. Writers, graphic designers, video editors, researchers, as I said. And for the Reparations Investment Company, well, for one, even the on-the-ground concrete work of renovating the property, we want to call on people to come into St. Louis from everywhere to participate in that. But let's say you can't, or at least let's say you can't anytime soon. You can work on the fundraising component of it, helping to win resources and investments, and also winning donations of in-kind materials and labor and equipment. This is something that people can do from anywhere, is research different companies and corporations and entities that we can go to about contributing, donating in-kind, making in-kind donations of materials and equipment to get the renovations done on the Harris property. So those are some of, but not all of the ways that I would highlight for how people can participate from anywhere. And Anne said, love, love, love the Black Power Blueprint and the Reparations Legacy Project. Uhuru, Anne. All right, well, I really appreciate the comments that people did send in, and I want to give a special shout out to Camille, and Charles for signing up to be a part of Reparations Investment Company. And we are getting more texts here. Trisha, we really appreciate Trisha, who put in $25. Uhuru to Trisha. So that
Uhuru.
means 10 left towards the goal of 1,000. Uhuru. And again, people can go to uhurusolidarity.org/pay-reparations. So, Kara, Camille donated a second round of $60. Uhuru, Camille. That is awesome.
Incredible.
And I do not mind continuing to interrupt myself to announce donations. So if anybody else wants to do that, please feel free. You can be like Camille. Go to uhurusolidarity.org/pay-reparations. We have $250 left to raise for tonight. One person put in be like Maureen, put in $250. Reparations to African people, material solidarity with African self-determination on the ground in North St. Louis and around the world. So, Uhuru. So as people are doing that, and as we're kind of closing out this event, I just wanted to see Chairwoman Penny, if there's any kind of closing remarks that you would like to share with us before we adjourn today.
Uhuru, just really want to salute a great event and everybody who was on the various different platforms. It was really powerful, and I'm very, very excited to actually be going forward. Want to salute Comrade Kara, by the way, for such great leadership on the Reparations Legacy Project and investment company and that work. And really, I'm so excited about renovating this house, being able to really take this out to the world and build Uhuru Solidarity Movement, get the word out that a lot of white people are in a state of despair. They look at the world and it's pretty, pretty depressing in some ways. But like the chairman says, if you want to fight Trump, you have to be here, and look at just how cowardly the Democrats are. That's nobody. I think it's very clear. Nobody wants to be part of either of the political parties that uphold this colonial vicious system. So the answer for the future is to be here under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, the analysis of African internationalism to let us see the world as it really is and what we can do about it and how we can change it. We've got to build this movement 1,000 times over. Really want to salute all of you comrades for being here. We are winning. We are building. We are on the winning side. And just want to say, Vanguard up. Relentless.
Relentless. Uhuru, Chairwoman Penny, thank you for your presentation, for your leadership. And that was a very inspiring note on which to end tonight. And I also want to salute Janet, our amazing comrade Janet, out in Tacoma, who put in $25.
Uhuru. Wow, so many great comrades.
Yes, Uhuru. So people can continue to contribute at uhurusolidarity.org/paid-reparations. And we are going to be in touch with everybody about the weekly meetings for these different teams that we're talking about and really getting these projects going in full force. So we're going to go ahead and go to our announcements.
Yes. Okay, so we have so many exciting things happening just in this rest of this month and into the next. Definitely sign up for this. You can register. It's APSC, nearly half a century of white solidarity with Black power. So for 50 years, we have been uniting with African liberation, and you need to watch this or come to this webinar, and you can register. You see that red button, APSC, uhuru.org/register.
And
next.
And that is going to feature Chairwoman Penny and Chairman Omali Ishitella. So that is going to be a very, very exciting event. And also, it's hard to stop announcing these, and I think I have to. I want to salute Charles, who's going to give another $20. So Uhuru
All
Charles.
right.
Woohoo! Great. Next slide. This sounds amazing. Mural painting. They're painting the mural on the bakery and cafe. So they want volunteers. Definitely sign up for that. You can sign up at the tinyurl.com/volunteer mural.
That's amazing.
Yes. Oh, Camille, one of our amazing donors here today, is holding a jewelry class, a class for change, a reparations fundraiser for African community self-determination and economic development programs. So
Great.
you're going to be learning that skill of how to make jewelry. The tiny URLs down below where you can sign up, tinyurl.com/jewelry reparations. And
Yeah.
nice, a Halloween festival. Uh, I know that they do this every year pretty much, right?
Yeah.
A Halloween party for the children in the neighborhood. And so 25th of October, kid games, treats, vendors, food, culture, costume contest, and prizes from 10 to 3.
That's
West Florence.
Saturday. It's coming Saturday.
This
Yeah.
coming Saturday, that's right.
Yeah.
How
And just to
fun.
make sure people know, Camille's event is this Friday, the day after tomorrow.
Great. Great, Camille. That's so good.
Next slide. Okay. Fight for anti-colonial free speech, reparations now. Solidarity with the African, Mexican, and Palestinian liberation. This is a teach-in, and this is happening October 30th at 6:30. That's ET, Eastern Time. Or you can come in person at the Panera Bread, 1908 4th Street, North St. Pete, Florida. So if you're in St. Pete, head on out to the Panera Bread. If not, sign up on this tiny URL. You can come in through Zoom.
And that event is going to feature Director Akile, that's organized by the USM St. Pete branch. And yeah, if you're in St. Pete, go to Panera Bread and check out the little community room in the back. That Panera Bread has been the site of much
Many events, many great events. Yeah.
True.
I had no idea Panera Bread had a little room like that. Okay, well, Black People's March on the White House every year, annual march. Saturday, November 1st, 2025, 11 a.m., Malcolm X Park. I'm going to be there. You guys have to all come. I know lots of people on this Zoom are going to be there too.
I'll be there. Looking forward to it. We're going to be marching with the USM reparations contingent. So definitely want to call on people to join us that weekend.
And don't agonize, organize. Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations, the 17th annual Black People's March on the White House. Just talked about it, but this kind of goes through the whole schedule. Friday, there's going to be a press conference at Sankofa Brooks. Sankofa Books and Cafe, okay, at noon. And it gives the address right there. Pre-rally at 1DC Black Workers Center, 2500 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in southeast part, 7 to 9. And then Saturday, November 1st, 2025, Malcolm X Park. The rally begins at 11 a.m. And if you're watching this, I would take a picture of this. But we will all have the information too on all the websites. So you can register at blackisbackcoalition.org. Next slide. And the Giving Tuesday is coming up. I can't believe it's already happening. We're at the end of 2025. And Giving Tuesday is that Tuesday after Thanksgiving. And it is a way, it's a national thing, but our Giving Tuesday is Reparations Tuesday. And so we're going to have a reparations telethon, and that happens every year. It's a 24-hour thing. It's really fun, really great, really informative, all the things. Next slide. I think that's it.
All right. Uhuru, Kara, thank you so much. And thank you to Chairwoman Penny Hess and to everybody who donated tonight. We raised $700 and
75.
$775. So 225 away from 1,000. People can continue contributing at uhurusolidarity.org/paid-reparations. And if you aren't able to contribute anymore, let people that you know about Camille's fundraiser on Friday night. And they can come and learn how to make jewelry and contribute reparations there. And get more and more people involved in building the mass movement for reparations to African people. So thank you, everybody. Salute to Chairman Omali Shatella and Deputy Chair Ona Zaneya Shatella. Unity through reparations
Reparations.
through.
Uhuru.